starts with this, and there's like endless side shoots until we're really far from the original like meat of what we're trying to talk about. Hello, Smith.
Hello. All right, wait, don't put me on the screen. Wait 1 second. You'll know.
You're gonna get kicked, aren't you?
Me?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Ugh.
I'm not even set up to put you on the screen, am I?
All right,
yeah,
I'm
I think
ready.
I am. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Smith.
What's up?
Hey,
I wanted to do a follow-up about antisemitism.
oh, okay. You're super dark.
Am I dark?
Uh,
Hold on.
yeah, I don't. I mean, you can see the screen. I don't think anybody can see you.
Ugh. Can you see me, guys? Can you see me crawling back underneath the bed?
Yeah, I think we see that you're under a bed. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you about the orbiter thing,
Yeah.
and I messaged you about it. You didn't reply. But I don't want to talk
I
to you about
didn't.
that on here.
You know what? Why don't you talk about what you do want to talk about,
All right?
and then we can have, you know.
Yeah. But I wanted to tell you that. So I think
Well,
that. What?
yeah. Go ahead. What do you want to talk about, Smith?
I think that a big thing that is going unspoken about with the anti-Semitism arc of the world right
The
now
planet. Yeah.
is the aspect of jealousy that people have for Jews.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, what? I look at these people talking about Jews, and I'm like, what the? Like, have you ever written a screenplay? Like, what the fuck have you ever done that could possibly land you one of these jobs that you're saying that you or your family or whatever the fuck should have?
Well, that attitude sort of makes it worse, I think.
Yeah,
Because when I think about this issue and I think about the jealousy, I don't think of it as purely haves and have-nots. You can think of it that way. Like you could say, in general, Jews have more wealth than others in a general sense. But that's not really. I don't think that gets to the issue that, or the thing that, not the issue, just the thing that's bothering people or making them jealous. I think it has to do
yeah,
with the childhood of Jews and like for instance one of the differences between the lives of a black person in the United States and a white person
hmm
is their childhood. Like a lot of black people have like single parent households. They have like less support in like a shit ton of ways. And when I say less support in a shit ton of ways, I'm not equipped with the lexicon to even describe all those shit ton of ways, but those ways are
sure,
very
but
important. And those are the
yeah,
ways
and,
that
and some of
Jews
them
have
are not
better
even.
childhoods. Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
we
so you're
can.
saying that from a black person to a white person, the way a black person might look at the childhood of a white person in the U.S. might look at a Jewish person's childhood with that same
Yes.
um,
So when you
sense
say
of like
when your response is, "Well,
belonging.
you've never written a screenplay before," my feeling is, but like, what about your life and your childhood led you to be able to? Why is it that so many Jews are confident doing that and will get into the arts? I think it takes a lot of certain types of support and multiple types of support. There's financial support. There is like mentorship support or just like emotional support or just acceptance. Like A lot of people don't want their kids to get into the arts. Um, and if you do go into the arts, for a lot of people, it's like, well, you better start making money or else you shouldn't be in the arts. And it takes a while to make money in the arts. So I think that Jews generally have that kind of support for much longer, and it's just part of their culture or something.
I don't know, man. Oh,
No,
I mean, having money in your family, that's definitely more likely for Jews. But um, like your parents telling you that you have to be a doctor or a lawyer, like most Jews are not artists. Most Jews' families do not want them to be artists and will not permit them to be artists. Um, I like yeah, in LA, if a Jewish family is already in the entertainment industry, then they want their kids to be in the entertainment industry. But I can't think of people whose parents are lawyers and doctors who are then like, but my kid should go become a screenwriter. Feels like so I agree with some of what you're saying, but not really the not the
so
emotional
okay,
support
no,
part.
it's not that you're agreeing because I'm actually asking because I'm not a Jew and I don't know. You're
Uh
not all Jews. You're not all Jews, but you are Jewish. You might know a bit more than me. So,
I don't know. I
so
mean,
I
like
want
I've
to
probably known.
investigate. I
I
want
might
to
have.
investigate.
Okay.
What's the difference here?
Okay.
So, um, it is true. Like, if your parents are in the arts or in some way, you're going to have not only will they want you to be in the arts. I don't think that's the best articulation. I think it's that they can help you be in the arts and they know how you can do it right.
Well, that's true. They can give you a kind of roadmap for how
Yeah,
to do that. But I was trying to get at the specific like what do they want you to do? Because again, in my experience, the average Jewish family does not want their child to move to Los Angeles and
I accept that.
try to get into.
That's
Okay.
not what I was getting at, though. Or I did mention that, but that's not my point. Like so something I feel deeply I'm aware of right now. Um,
Yeah.
I that roadmap thing is very important. Um,
Yes.
so like for me, um, I kind of like bushwhacked my way into the arts and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I really had a lot of trouble making it into it. I didn't know what the fuck to do. Then I had friends that were in like tech and web development, and they gave me a roadmap to that. Something that kind of made me miserable, but at least I had a roadmap. And I never had a roadmap to something like to a proper like place for me. And maybe just Jews in general just have access to more roadmaps. Would that be it? And if that's it, then that's
I,
then we can say that that's something we should encourage for everybody somehow,
I
right?
think they have. I think. Uh, my understanding of most Jewish families is that there is a roadmap, but you're not allowed to go off the roadmap either. There's a very, the more traditional they are, there's a very specific idea that the parents and grandparents are very domineering and unaccepting of any diversion from that roadmap. So, yes, there's a sense of like, here is what you need to do to become a corporate lawyer or a doctor or whatever. But if you don't do that, there's like shame, I think. Again, my upbringing is not like a normal Jewish childhood, so
Mm.
I think. Um, so I think what people don't understand is that if you're a child of people in LA and your parents are producers and then you grow up to become a producer, yes, from the outside that's nepotism. It's like, oh, of course, your parents I got all these connections and stuff and helped you make your first movie and get funding and blah blah blah. From the inside though, knowing some of these children of producers, you have to be a producer even if you don't want to be. Even if you don't want to work in Hollywood, you have to
Well,
because
that's
um
disappointing to me because
you'll
what I was hoping you would say was more along the lines of they because no for like out of a sense of optimism. I was hoping you would say wasn't that they have to. It's that they just are able to see like because I don't know how to become a producer. So I wish I
yeah, yeah.
did.
So if you're but if your dad's a producer, he's like, I'm getting older and somebody's got to
Mm.
take over, and they start bringing you to meetings and film festivals and stuff to sell movies and pitch ideas when you're like 19. And it's like your path is determined for you by your family, I think, in a lot of Jewish families. And most film producers are not happy people, and most of them don't make, like, most movies, especially with like a that are made like most are with a mind for profit. All those movies on Netflix that you don't watch, somebody has to make all those. That's like 99% of Hollywood jobs are making that. And the people who make those did not grow up wanting to make those. So, I think the comparisons you're making are good. And yeah, of course, no, I mean, a lot of what I'm saying is not going to land at all to the audience. Like, you guys are thinking like, oh, poor you have to make movies. But like, a lot of those people don't make a lot of money. Um, and it's not glamorous, and they don't like what they're doing. They're just doing it because that, just like the rest of us, that's like they were raised to do it.
When you say don't make a lot of
So I think
money, what does that mean? Like,
like a lot of them lose money. It's a high risk
yeah,
type
yeah.
of business where you're investing tons of money into every project, and if it doesn't make the money back, your production company can just be gone. If you fuck it up. And some of them are millionaires. Some of them make a normal, middle class. I just think it kind of runs the whole gamut of what can happen. But like,
Sure. But what I'm
so
really
so I
sorry, I'll let you continue.
I think, yes, from a underprivileged white person's perspective, the idea of having a family that is very invested in what you do with your career is a really nice thing. That probably sounds really nice, and a family that guides you into a profession that is respected. But to a Jew, from the inside, I think most Jews are like, I really wish my parents would leave me the fuck alone. Like, why is my emotional like landscape filled with your shame about what med school I did or didn't get into? But that, like, and so like, yeah, I see how from the outside that like nobody gives a shit. But knowing these people and sort of being one myself, um, I think it's a double-edged sword.
Maybe. I don't know. Uh, I think it's better. Well, I don't know if it's better, but I think I'd rather just not be lost and that like and clueless and devoid of any direction. I'd rather have direction I don't like than just kind of bushwhacking through. But what I really
I,
want to get at and asking you is what do you think? Because if if it's the case
yeah,
of upbringing or something, then what can we learn or try to spread for everybody? You know, what can people take away from the things that Jews have that they don't have? And
I don't know. I feel like it's all horrible. I knew like I too have I had pressure on me to become a psychologist. Um there was some pressure on me to become some kind of artist or writer. Like, my father was very proud of my newsletter when I was in high school. Very proud of my writing, very proud of my irreverence and my willingness to stand up to the powers that be. But when it came down to it, um, there was not a lot of support for me to pursue any kind of creative career. He would mock me. He would tell me it wasn't going to happen. He would get jealous whenever I made progress in any way. Um, like, I remember I was writing my first screenplay, and he said, what are you working on? And I said, I'm writing a screenplay. And he said, I'll give you $20 for every page you write. And then he started laughing hysterically like a hyena and said, "You believed me. You actually believed me. You believed me for a second." And I had to
Just so you know, this is
in
something
this
you usually don't talk about. So just be
it's
the
fine.
kind of
So
yeah.
in this horrible moment of shame, I had to pretend to my father that I didn't have this blossoming of hope that he actually wanted to pay me to write a screenplay. I was very excited for 1 second. I was like, "Oh, you're not like trying to stomp me down for a second." And then I did believe him, and then he mocked me ruthlessly for it. This was when I was on my way. I was driving to LA cross country with everything I owned in my car to become a screenwriter, and he said, "Do you know what the average writer makes in a year, Max, in this country? $1,300. 1,300, not 13,000. $1,300 a year." Um, Another time, he read my sex blog without permission, saw that I'd posted nudes of myself on it, and shrieked at me that I was throwing my life away, and that I would never be accepted into a PhD program now for psychology. So I definitely um, feel I don't know. Now that I'm saying it, it does feel like, yeah, my father's a psychologist. He knows the path for becoming a psychologist, and that's what he wanted me to do. And like I did get mixed messages about like, yeah, become some kind of creative person or get some kind of creative job. But when it came down to it, I think if I hadn't cut my father off 8 years ago, I would not be. This would not be my job.
Okay, sure.
Um,
Yes, yes. That certainly makes sense.
So I had to get rid of my Jewish family in order
But
to have the kind of creative media job that you're talking about. If I
right, but
hadn't,
I have a
I would
point.
have just been, yeah,
From an outside, because this is you're saying your perspective. I'm going to say mine. Um,
okay.
so um, so you got this brutal realism or a lot of cruelty, but also
Yes.
very practical input too, along with true cruelty. But
Yes. You're jealous
I
of the
didn't.
practical
So
input.
I was I got some of that. I got some of those things too. Like I remember one time a lot of times my parents would ask me to do art for them all the time,
Yeah.
and then I would be like, okay, that's gonna take like a month and a half. Like, so you can pay me, or I'm not gonna do it. And they're like, oh, well, no, you're never. They just get pissed at me, or the idea of that would be horrible. But I also got just kind of blind, dumb support without any guidance whatsoever, where I was allowed to just kind of um just aim myself into oblivion, into stupid choices, and then when I failed, then it's like, well, you're a failure.
I mean,
Um,
so did I.
right. Um,
Like I was
but
broke. I got my car repossessed. I got my phone shut off. I was totally broke my entire life until I cut my parents off and started and became a private personal trainer. But they did not help me with money. Uh, uh, they, I think there was 2 times when I was gonna get kicked out of my apartment, and I asked my father to cover my rent for a month, and he did when I was like 20. Um, and he paid for my health insurance until I was like 26 or 27. So I did have financial support there, but I didn't. I was never taught shit about money. I was never taught to be self sufficient. And there was no I was obviously broke, and like no one in my family gave a shit or gave me any advice about it. There was no support about it at all, and it um so I don't know what about that you're jealous of.
okay, so that's well, I know. Well, I'm getting a clear picture. So it sounded like you had gotten. You're not all Jews, but the picture that I had of you was a one where you got more support than I had imagined, or than you said. I imagined you getting more support. So um,
No, I mean I went by the time I started my training business, I had like $10,000 in credit card debt, $13,000 car loan, and most of my credit card debt was just interest. because I was fucking stupid and like didn't like just would I was like I've had a negative net worth through all of my probably till I was like 32, um, until I finally paid off all of my debts.
Hmm.
And most of them, yeah, most of that debt was just money going straight to the banks.
That's interesting because I have the opposite problem where I'm sort of aware of a lot of these things and I'm working on like my credit score and stuff, and I technically have, well, actually, including student loans, I have a negative net worth, but in general, like that doesn't fucking really count. In general, I
Right.
don't. I have a pretty positive net worth, but I am not playing any risk, and I don't. I'm not learning a lot of those lessons because I don't want to take these risks without any support or guarantee. I feel like you felt like if you failed, you wouldn't fail onto the concrete.
Oh no, I would.
Would
Uh,
but become homeless.
um, I think so. As soon as I confronted my father, he stopped paying for my health insurance. As soon as I told him, I set a boundary with him about how I thought he was being cruel to me and my other family members, and he stopped paying for my health insurance immediately. So I think, um, and then there was another event which I don't want to get into, but basically, I would not be surprised. I think at this point, I think after not speaking to either parent for a decade, I think I am fully financially cut off. Also, I would rather be homeless than ask them for money at this point too. So, um, it doesn't. It's kind of moot. But um, yeah, there's no nice Jewish safety net because if you don't, and I think a lot of Jews feel this way, if you don't accept the cruelty, if you have boundaries with your parents and you say, okay, all that shit you talk about neuroses and psychology and how parents treat their children, let's put that into practice. If you actually do that, suddenly your nice Jewish supportive family um, is like not fucking speaking to you anymore. So that again, that's a generalization, but I think that most Jews I know feel like they have to put up with a lot of interpersonal shit in order to get that support that you're talking about.
Okay. Um, I'll probably having better educated parents probably helps.
Yeah, true. My parents both went to grad school.
Mine didn't.
Yeah.
How about in your conversation with Leah, your stream where you had that your dad thing, talked about
Yeah.
goyim, and you said that like Jews are just more emotionally intelligent and everybody else can never understand. They're just all emotionally retarded, basically.
Okay, can I before you
Please
put the
do.
words we didn't okay. I've I didn't use the word goyim and I never have,
I
first of
think you
all.
did. I think you did, but I think you were like winking, you know.
Okay, yeah, I might have done it ironically, but I don't think of the world in terms of Jews and goyim.
Are there Jews that do?
Yes, many. There are a lot of Jews that don't. I didn't
Right.
grow up with any Jews who I did not grow up with any Jews who thought that way. The Jews I grew up with, I didn't even understand who was Jewish and who wasn't until half of my
Well,
friends started getting
well,
bar
to
mitzvahs,
me,
and I was like, oh,
when you say that, like that sounds like a curing thing for anti-Semitism to admit, not because you're Jewish, but if that's the fact, it's not Jews, it's the certain attitude that some Jews have. You know, that changes it from being about Jews to that's a shitty attitude.
oh, us versus them.
Yeah, and if a
Well, it's the
lot of
same
Jews,
attitude as some. It's the same attitude as somebody who's anti-Semitic. It's just racism. And some Jews are racist. Some of every group of people are racist. I was not friends with racist Jews growing up, so I didn't ever experience that feeling of like superiority that some people of all races have.
okay, but how about the emotional? Like you were talking about how you think Jews just have better um parenting as far as
Oh,
raising their kids to have emotional intelligence and stuff.
I think that I think in Jewish culture there is a language for talking about the ways that your parents negatively affect you that I don't see as at the forefront of other cultures in the way they talk about families. So in my experience, talking about talking to a Christian family or talking to like a Christian white family or a black family, I don't. They're not as readily like, yes, this is the shitty thing that my parents did to me that is now affecting all of my interpersonal relationships. I don't. I feel like Jews are pretty quick to, even if they won't do anything about it in their families, they're pretty quick to articulate that. And I think that that's just like part of the culture. Like Woody Allen, part of the culture is Woody Allen is fucking insane, right? Like he married his wife's daughter,
Hmm.
essentially his own daughter, who he met when she was like 11 or 10 or something. So he's fucking insane. He does things that are abusive and destructive to his family and have left his entire family reeling and dealing with all the insane shit he did. But he still also can write and direct these movies that show that he has a really clear and nuanced understanding of like how family psychology works. That's a very familiar thing for me. So that's what I was trying to talk about with Leah is like I think that Jews more often have a willingness to admit things that are fucked up about them and their families and seem to have a language for doing that more readily than I think most other cultures. But that doesn't mean that they actually are going to do anything about it or use that knowledge for any good or even to help themselves. But I think it's easier.
Well,
I think both Leah and I are more likely to take criticism of that sort when somebody's like, "Oh, so when somebody calls in and is like, your relationship with Leah is really weird and unhealthy and fucked up." I feel like that first caller thought there was going to be a really long period of me having to accept the fact that you're making a critique of me and accept the fact that the critique is that I did something insane. And I feel like most Jewish people have a cultural language of like, yeah, I get what you're saying. We can
well,
skip past that. And I think
to
we're
me,
comparing it to most of
okay.
I think we're comparing it to like the DGG, Destiny and its orbiters, where if you make a criticism of them, they seem to be immediately flailing and have no ability whatsoever to acknowledge any criticism of themselves at all, whether they're going to actually seriously take it in or not. They seem to not even get past the first part of like, oh, I'm being criticized and this is something I've heard about and something I've thought
Sure.
about and yeah, I understand. I feel like most Jews just identify as like kind of a fucked up person, so there isn't
That's
that
the
crust.
context. That's the context you were talking about it then. But I'm trying. So if we bring that into the context of what I'm talking about, maybe the difference in the the outcomes of Jewish kids in their lives. Maybe the pairing of having brutally strict or high expectations from your parents who are very well educated and know exactly how you're gonna live your life, but also giving you the tools to critique them. Maybe that's a good pairing in totality.
I don't I
You don't agree?
You're given the tools to critique your parents, but if you use them, you lose everything else. So uh, to me, it's just a cruel trick of like, yeah, your parents watch these movies with you and talk about psychology with you and talk about child abuse with you. But if you actually call them out for being abusive, they cut you off. You lose the support. You lose the money.
Right,
You lose
but
the
that
help, the
first
career
half of
help.
the
You lose your family.
that first half
So
of the
it's like
sentence though, that first half of the sentence, can't that just like build you a better mind in general?
no,
Like
because the mind you build is used to deceive yourself. So then you're lampshading everything, to use my
But
community's
you
new
just said
favorite
the
word.
opposite. You said that that tool is good for self criticism. So it's the opposite of being used to deceive yourself.
No, no, no. It's good for appearing to be able to have self-criticism. It's not. It's good. It's good for
Often thought that
being
about you.
able to. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people think that about me. That I can make it seem like I'm good at taking criticism because I don't freak out when you make the criticism. But that's different from actually taking in the criticism.
Okay.
It's happening right now, right? You said I've often thought that about you.
Yeah, you're
If you
you're
say that to the
reframing.
average,
You're
if you
reframing.
say that to the app, will you let me fucking finish a sentence? I'm gonna fucking freak out.
I'll
I
let you
want
talk a
to.
lot.
I want it.
I will.
Yes.
Continue.
Okay. If you say to Destiny or one of his orbiters, one of the people that Lav and I were comparing ourselves to, you're not good at taking criticism, they will react badly, and the conversation will take a long time to go anywhere from there. I don't react badly. I'm like, oh yeah, I know a lot of people think that about me, but that's not. I still think I am good at taking criticism. I'm not really engaging with what you're saying. I'm just like, I just don't have a thin crust of fragility around my self-image. It's a much thicker crust of fragility, and it's deeper. So we have to get past the first initial like criticism to actually get to it.
Yeah, you're good at taking the criticism and adapting it into your own framing or your own narrative. But that also doesn't actually fully answer the criticism itself. It just engulfs it.
Yeah, it's dismissive. I'm very dismissive of a lot of criticisms of me.
Secretly.
Secretly dismissive, yeah.
You've said that you like a long time ago, something you said that really stuck in my mind was that you fantasize about like beating up poor people. Was that just like do you not remember that, or you said
I
like
don't remember. I
what
don't know
you
what you're
said
talking about.
something like every I think you were trying to like find common ground with someone. You're like, we all wish we could beat up poor people. No, that if you
I
don't
don't remember.
if you don't remember that,
I
then it
don't
must
know.
not really be something you think about.
Beating up poor people?
Yeah, I think it was just having like a violent like inappropriate thoughts or something, and you're saying, but what you said was beating up poor people, and I was like, why is that the thing he said? But
I was probably thinking about like American Psycho or something. I don't know. I don't know
maybe
what I was talking about. I don't fantasize about beating up poor people.
I have one last thing about Jews, and then I have a small topic after that if you don't want to stop. But
I think we're out of time, Smith. I think
okay,
this is going on for quite a while, and I feel like we
well, you do
should
talk a
move
lot.
to the next caller.
Do
I
you
did talk a lot.
do you think that Bill Clinton should be accepted as a Reformed Orthodox rabbi?
Is he trying to be?
No, this is some meme from this somebody during the Game Awards, some like 15-year-old kid during the Game
Yeah.
Awards the other day when Elden Ring won. He like snuck up on the stage. He was like hanging up behind them, and he's like
Oh.
grabbed the mic. And at the end of the Game Awards, he's like, "Bill Clinton, we Jews should accept Bill Clinton as a reform." And he's a Jewish kid. He said that Bill Clinton should accept. We should accept Bill Clinton as a Reformed Jew Orthodox rabbi or
No.
something. And
I don't
yeah, I'm just
understand.
wondering if you heard about that or had an opinion. It's very weird. He was wearing Yeezys. It's very strange.
I didn't hear about it, and I have no opinion.
Okay. I had another
Smith?
thing, but you don't have to continue.
We have to stop. It's over, Smith. Until next time.
Till next time.